Hi, you've caught me looking in a book here trying to find a bird. We've just had a beautiful bird flying around our place here, and I was wondering what type of bird it is. And that brings me really to this month's thoughts on leadership, because there's a lot of difference between wanting to know something and being willing to learn. Many people have a desire for knowledge, desire for knowing something, but that doesn't mean necessarily they're willing to learn. So take me, for instance. I do enjoy birds, and when I see a bird that's interesting, I'd like to know what bird it is. I have no desire to be an expert on birds. I have no desire to go bird watching. I'm just really interested in what different types of birds are. And this isn't useful in terms of business these days. Why do we want to know something? Is it something that we need an in-depth knowledge of, or is it something that we particularly, just the general information would be useful to us? Most important from a leader's point of view is understanding your people. There are people out there who just want to know. Okay? They're thirsty for knowledge about things, but they're ones that want it for the wrong reason. In other words, they're desperate to know anything and everything, and they've got to know what's going on, and they've got to know what's happening, and all this sort of thing. That doesn't necessarily mean there's somebody who has a desire to learn. And a desire to learn is what is really key, particularly in certain areas of your business. So for instance, you may have a situation where you want somebody to particularly know something about the product, but the willing to learn bit will be how they can explain that product to the client. So if they're somebody who's quite happy to know about the product but aren't willing to learn how to sell it to the client or so forth, then they may be the wrong person for that job. So the key here is really getting to understand there is a difference between wanting to know something and willing to learn, and both are needed. And at times, we're going to need to do one or the other. Have we got the right person for the right situation? So we've just started a business which is in the sales training arena. And it's about, yes, we can give you the knowledge to things, but taking it that step further and getting you to be able to apply it, that requires you to have a willingness to learn. And many people have a desire to know, but not necessarily a willingness to learn. So for this month, I'm asking you some simple questions here. I want you to think about your own people. I want you to look at some of the people you've got working for you and ask yourself, is this somebody who has a desire to know something, or is this somebody who's really willing to learn? The depth comes in the willing to learn. The knowledge is just a veneer. Very useful, very important, and in some cases, all that's needed. But in other cases, it's the depth that's needed. So in my case, knowing about the different types of birds, that's great. But the depth would come in actually understanding them, their habits, when you see them, what time of year they are, so that I could have an in-depth knowledge of them, and I could recognize them when I see them and realize when they're out of place or when they might be nesting or whatever is required. So think about it in your business. What do you want people to know? And what do you want them to be able to apply with that knowledge? And when you got those two differentiators, then start to ask yourself the question with regard to some of your individuals, is this somebody who's just wants to know, or is this somebody who's willing to learn? If they just all you need them is to know and they're willing to know, well then that's great, you can deal with that. But if they're somebody who you need them to be able to apply it and go a stage further, then they have to have a willingness to learn. The learning takes them from knowledge into application. And it's that difference. So I hope that's given you something to think about this month, and we'll go into it in more detail in the website if you want to know more. But there's something for you to go away and think about this month. I hope you're having a good month and a good year. See you next month. Bye for now.